Hello again, and welcome to another video by our Facebook group, Gardening for Beginners. Today we're going to talk about how to put together a simple grow light setup indoors. The only things you're going to need are some form of light for your plants, a fixture to hang that light to, and something to hang the light fixture to. Before we get into that, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this page. It would mean quite a lot to us. And if you're not part of our Facebook group yet, please go to Facebook, do a search for Gardening for Beginners. We're going to be the group with just a little over 71,000 members. We're a constantly growing group. We've got plenty of room for you, and we're filled with helpful members. With that out of the way, let's get to it. Our first two videos helped you determine what your planting zone is and how to start seeds indoors. If you haven't watched those first two videos, I'd highly recommend watching them before you watch this video, because this would be the third step in that process. Basically, the way it would pan out is you would find out when your planting zone is. Once you determine your planting zone, you would know when to start your seeds indoors. And then once your seeds started to sprout, you would need to find a way to offer them light so that they can continue to grow. So I'll put a link of those two videos in the description at the bottom at the bottom of this video, and also at the end of the video I'll provide a link embedded into the video that you can click on for starting seeds indoors. So let's talk about lighting and light fixtures first. The two options I'm going to talk about today are going to be T12 fluorescent bulbs and LEDs. This is a T12 fluorescent bulb. You can find them in hardware stores. There's not really anything special or uncommon about them. You've probably even seen them going into department stores, or might even have them in your garage. But yeah, this is an example. Okay, they're typically about 48 inches long, and these are the specs on them right here. This is important. This is what you're going to want to look for. Right there, you've got your 2900 lumens, and down here 6500 Kelvin. It does say that there is a 9-year life on that. That's pretty optimistic, because this is something to where you'd be using it. You would get this output and this life out of it if you were to only use it 6 hours a day. We're going to be using it more than that, anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day. So you're probably looking at about half that, if not a little bit less. I like to replace mine every year or two just to be on the safe side. This is the box, the light fixture that you would use with it. It'll specifically say T12 on it. For example, right there, it's got the T12 light fixture on it. Again, you know, you're going to have the 48 inch in this instance right here. And here's a picture of it right there. I'm going to give you a little close-up on it, but I just wanted to kind of show you an example of what the boxes are. Really easy to come by in your hardware stores, very common. I was also going to do a setup with a T5, but I went to a couple different hardware stores, didn't really find any availability on the fixtures, and I prefer not to buy just fixtures online. I like to see what they look like in the store before I buy them. Might be a regional thing here in South Texas, I'm not quite sure. I just know that I really didn't have quick access to them, so I decided to stick with the T12 as well as the LED light fixtures. Something like this, these guys right here, you're looking at $10 for two of them, and again, they'll last you at least a year. I mean, the package, going by that, you're probably looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 years. I like to replace mine every 2 years just to be on the safe side, to make sure the intensity is there. The fixture itself that I showed you, that's going to last you a long time, if not forever. I paid about $20 for that. Of course, I'm rounding up. I think it was closer to like $18, and this was right at around $9, so you're going to be set for a couple years, you know, just by getting something like that. What some people like to do, you might see some other reviews, some other websites, videos out there. They get two separate bulbs with two different types of intensities, because what this fixture will do, I'll show you in a second. There's two bulbs a package of this comes with 2 bulbs. 2 bulbs will fit in here, okay? Sometimes people will buy 2 different types of bulbs with different intensities, just looking at different spectrums that'll address the plant's needs. But I want to say this guy right here is going to be all you need if you plan on starting your seeds indoors and eventually transplanting them outside, because the other intensity is for things like flowering, things that you're not really going to focus on. Now, if you are planning on growing your plants exclusively indoors, absolutely you would want to get the different spectrum on the other side of this. All right, so I wanted to show you what the actual fixture looks like right here with the bulb in it, okay? It goes all along this little rack that I have it on. And, you know, one of the benefits to getting this type of setup is it's pretty inexpensive. There's a couple of downsides to it too. First of all, a lot of folks, they'll put foil on the sides right here, because this type of light is a very spread out light. You know, it goes out on all sides. It's not very focused. So they'll put foil down on the sides so that they focus the intensity. The other thing, which is the second part's more of a headache for me, if you notice right here, you have to have your plants less than 2 inches away from the light and get it as close to the light as possible, because the light becomes weaker and weaker the farther away it is from the plant. So those are 2 of the things that you'll want to contend with. Another thing, as these plants grow up, you'll have to adjust. See, I've got these on hooks right here and chains where I can adjust the height. So as the plant grows, you're going to have to raise the fixture up higher to make room for it. And it looks like this guy is about ready for me to do that there. The option that I'm playing with now are these LED lights. You get a much wider spectrum of light with these, and they're more focused and direct than the fluorescents, meaning the light doesn't spread out like the fluorescents do. You can see that the lights are different colors. They each do different things, from leaf growth to flowering. So as long as you have the right conditions indoors, technically you could grow plants completely inside using these lights. You don't have to have them right above the plants either, which is nice if you have the height space, which for many types of seedlings can be 3 feet. On the downside, if you don't have that kind of headspace, don't get this type of LED, because if they're too close, they'll burn your plants. Also, this is a complete unit, which is a double-edged sword. On the one end, these lights should last longer than the fluorescent bulbs, usually around 5 years, but when they go out, you gotta buy a whole new fixture. The jury's still out on whether or not the cost will be comparable to fluorescents. These cost about $30 each, but I've heard good things about them, so I'm gonna give it a whirl. So to support the lights, you've got some choices. The easiest option is to do what I did, well, one of the things that I did, I should say, and just go to a hardware store and buy something like this, a 5-tiered shelf. A couple different reasons. Number one, they're really flexible. As you can see, this is currently a 4-tiered shelf. I'll get into that in a second. But the upfront costs are definitely there. You know, I ended up spending, it was normally $90, it was on sale for $75, so the cost is there. But then on the other end, you don't really need any special tools to build something like this. Everything that you need comes with it. I know there's sometimes you'll see something online that says, build this and that for free, but then, you know, come to watch the video, all of a sudden you have to have all these tools and everything. And if you go out and buy those tools, you're probably never going to use them again, never mind the fact that you've got to learn how to use them. So I figured this was a good deal at $75. What's also nice, as you can see, I've got space for, you know, my different fertilizers that I use. I collect rainwater. You know, you got your gloves here. Really everything that you need in the garden you can store indoors, you know, when you're not using it. But getting back to the tiered shelf system, since right now it's kind of the off season for starting seeds indoors because the temperature is nice enough outside to plant fall and winter crops, since I don't have a need to start any of those seeds indoors right now, what I've done is that I've modified the tiers on this to where I can test these LED lights along with my CFLs. So right now what I'm doing is, you see I've got a little space right here where I've got my LED 12 inches away. What I'm doing is I'm conducting experiments with broccoli to be at 12 inches away from an LED. 24 inches away. There he is right there. And then I'm going to get into this one in a second too. 36 inches away. And this guy's not doing good at all. So that tells me don't start your broccoli 36 inches away as seedlings using this LED. Some of my herbs are doing just fine at that level, but definitely not that type of vegetable. And then of course I've got my CFL light down here, and it looks like this guy is off to the best start. I'm not doing any distances with the CFLs because I already know the right distance is 1 to 2 inches away. But so far these guys are off to the races. Those are looking pretty strong right there. Time will tell. I'm probably going to give it another 2 weeks to see how effective these are comparatively speaking to one another. Now when I'm done with this little experiment, my ultimate goal is to use a combination of CFLs and LED lights, just depending upon which is more effective, because I am starting to notice that some types of veggies are just seem to be better performers under LEDs, and then there are other types of veggies that seem to do well under the CFL lights. So I'm going to keep playing around with that, and then when it comes time to start seeds indoors for the spring, I'm going to make my adjustments and use CFLs on both of the CFLs and LEDs on this setup right here. There's one other thing I want to mention. Another thing that I plan on doing, you see I have one CFL light fixture there. There's actually plenty of room for another 1 or 2 light fixtures in there, so I can actually have a couple of rows on each on each tier. And with the LEDs, you know, I could have 3 going across here, and I definitely have enough LEDs to go 3 across there as well. So that brings me to my next option, which is one of the simplest, and this inspiration came to me when I was just in here randomly cleaning my closet out. But if you have the space for it, you can actually have a little grow room in here. And if you notice, I'm going to pan this up, you've got these little grills right here. You could attach LEDs. I probably wouldn't do this with a CFL, but if it turns out that I decide to buy more CFLs than LEDs, then I could put a couple LEDs up here, and I measured it. That's about 36 inches. That's about 3 feet from that area down to the floor. And as I move along, I could make adjustments to that with the type of surface that the seedlings are on, just raise it and lower it as they grow. So you've got this little spot in here. I know a lot of us have guest rooms and things like that. If you have shelving units in like that or something similar to that, you can have a little grow room in here with a little out of the way space that isn't taking up a lot of space itself. Another option to hang a fixture in is a window. This right here was the bay window that I first used when I was starting seeds indoors for the first time. It definitely served its purpose for what I was looking for. You know, all I needed to do was get the fixture. I suspended it to the ceiling using some chains and hooks that I had also purchased at the hardware store, and I put my bulbs in there, and then I had this little support right here so that I could put my seeds there, and I still have a little seed tray there too. Basically, there were some ups and downs to this. It saved a lot of space. I didn't have to use a room. The window was already available, which was nice, and it definitely gave my seedlings the light that they needed. The downsides were, of course, similar with any or the same as any light fixture CFL setup that you're using, and that you have to constantly adjust up and down to accommodate the height of the seedlings. Another thing was there were some space limitations. You know, if you're only growing 3 or 4 different veggies indoors, something like this is going to be good for you. But what I was finding, because I wanted to do cucumbers, I wanted to do tomatoes, peppers, melons, squash, all different types of stuff, I was running out of space, so I had to plant some indoors and then take some outside, and then I did a little more, and then I did it outside, and then I didn't really need it anymore. So I felt like I lost a lot of time using this, because just of the limited space. It was definitely effective. You know, you still had the headache of having to adjust it up and down to accommodate the seeds, but again, if you're just starting out and you want to save space and you want to see if this is something that's right for you, this is definitely an excellent option. It's going to be a lower cost alternative, because the window, in this case the bay window, I didn't have to pay for it. It was a you know, a surface that I could attach a fixture to that didn't cost me any money at all. All right, I've got the light turned on now. I just wanted to show you something, because you definitely want to, at minimum, if you're going to use a windowsill, have some sort of light set up like this, because see how much light that's putting out right there? You don't want to just put your seedlings in a windowsill and say, well, it gets sun sometimes part of the day or most of the day or half the day, and think that that's going to be enough. It's not going to be enough 9 times out of 10. In our group, we see many folks coming in saying, I have my seeds in the window, they're not doing very well, they're spindly, they're leggy, they're weak, what's going on? And it's because they're not getting the light that they need. So if you have a bay window or a window with enough room to set seedlings up, definitely use some sort of setup like this, to where, you know, you've got a surface that you can put it on, you've got something to hang the light from, and then, you know, using this surface you can put your seedlings on right there. It's going to have them grow stronger. Their stalks are going to be stronger. They're not going to be spindly, weak, and leggy, so that when you transplant them outdoors, you're definitely setting them up for success. Now, getting back to this, the fourth option is limited only to your creativity. This fixture right here, so I was at work and the inventory manager came in and he said we didn't need this anymore. It's basically just a shelf unit for some accessories that we don't sell anymore. So he told me to throw it away. I asked him if I could just take it off his hands, and he said no problem. Now, I removed a couple of the shelves in here, but that's what's nice, is that right now I'm using it to run this little experiment LED lights 3 feet away from seedlings to see how effective it is. But I could always put those shelves back in, and I still have room underneath for additional storage there. So that's just one nice little unique way of putting something to use that was actually going to be trash. I mean, just looking over here at this little what I don't even know what this is, like a nightstand or an end table or something. I'm just kind of using it for storage right now. I mean, I guess you could technically put some sort of light fixture under there and then put seedlings at the base, and that would work just fine as well. Really, there's no shame in that either. It's free. Take advantage of it and use it if you're not using it for anything else anymore. Either way, any of these options are going to work for you. Those are going to be the setups that I'd recommend that are working for me. And as always, if you have a question or feedback, go ahead and do so in the comments below. And please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, and happy gardening.